G'day and welcome back to another episode of Tomo's Engine Building Tech Tips. On this episode we have my customer Ben, his 1330 engine, and we're going to be talking about the primary gear end float clearance. Now, why is this important to make sure? Well, simply put, if it is too tight, it's going to create drag, it's going to create friction, friction is going to create heat, it's going to cause binding, it's going to cause issues of engagement, it's going to create a bad time. If it's too loose, like it currently is, it's going to be flopping around. It's going to end up destroying the circlip at the end, the washer. It's going to be pushing everything out. The bolt for the flywheel is going to come out. It's going to jam everything. The clutch isn't going to engage. You could potentially destroy your clutch or your flywheel. So let's jump into how we need to work out what it is and what it needs to be set to. All right, so behind the primary gear are a few things. First of all, we have a thrust washer. These are specific to the engine. So this is a 1275, so we need a 1275 washer. If we have a look at one for a 1098, for instance, that's the old one out of Grace, it physically won't fit and go onto the taper. These have two different ways in which they can go, my bad. There is a tapered edge and then there's a flat edge. The tapered edge does need to go on the tapered edge of the bevel on the crankshaft. So we'll move that one to the side so we don't get confused. Now, these do come in different size thicknesses depending on what you need for it. They will sell different ones depending. So that'll go on first. Tapered edge faces the block. Now, next thing is the primary gear. Make sure as well, we will talk about this on another episode, the oil clearance between the bush and the crankshaft is correct. Failure to do so means, once again, it's going to seize, it's going to bind, it's going to create drag, it's going to destroy your crank, it's probably going to destroy the primary gear. If it's too loose, you're going to have a massive oil leak, and that's the last thing we want on a classic Mini. So that'll go on next. Once we've put that on, oh, there we go. That should just engage nice and easily. We do have this washer. This washer goes directly in front of it. Now, for demonstration purposes, we're going to put this washer facing the top, and then C-clip is going to go underneath. Depending on what crank you have, you may need a different C-clip, so just be aware of that. Now, as you can see, that is a lot tighter. There is a little bit of movement. Essentially, what we want here is 3 to 6 thou movement. Essentially, you want to make sure that this is correct, because if not, it's going to have a roll-on effect with how everything performs. Now, the first thing we need to do here is set up a dial gauge indicator to measure it. So let's set that up and let's have a look. All right, so a dial gauge indicator is one of those tools that you won't necessarily use all the time, but doing this sort of thing, you're gonna find you're gonna use it the most. So essentially you wanna fit it onto the block so it's a nice, flat, even surface. We then wanna be adjusting this depending how it's set up and what sort of room we have. You do want to try and get this needle as straight as possible, because if you don't, you're then going to have problems with it interfering with it, and it's not going to give the correct reading. Essentially, I'm going to bring this as close as I possibly can and raise that up, try and manipulate that around a little bit and put a little bit of preload on it. Now remember, preload is important because you need to make sure that we're not just starting at zero and working our way up, because if there is any sort of tolerances in between, we want to make sure that we can account for those. So I'm going to get this as close as I possibly can with this bracket and set a preload. Let's see what we've got on there at the moment. We've got about an inch of preload. Okay, cool. So we want to set it up on the flat surface just here. We'll just reposition the camera so we can properly see as to what we're going to be reading here. Now, let's just grab it out of here for a second. So we want to be setting this to 0. It is going to be very hard to see. So let's just rotate this around. That is now set at the 12 o'clock position and it is on 0. You can just see it there. So essentially what we'll be doing here is grabbing the gear and sliding it upwards and then checking how much gap we have. So let's just do this. So we are at, by the look of that, about 3.5 thou. So that's pretty much perfect. That's what we want. I have tested this before and it has got a maximum of 4 thou, so that's pretty well perfect what we need. So the next question is, if this clearance is incorrect, how do we adjust it? How do we determine what washer goes in there? So essentially, what you want to be doing is working out what clearance you've currently got with the setup you've got. Now, this is assuming that you have bought an engine and it is completely assembled, or you're reassembling an engine and it's already got all the components here. If you don't have all the components, we'll talk about that in a second. What we want to be doing is working out what clearance we have here. Let's say, for instance, we've got another shim. So I've got another one over here in which I can use as a demonstration. This one is going to be smaller. So I'm going to swap that one over, slide it on there, put the primary gear back on, put the washer on top, put the C-clip on, and you'll see now we have way more movement. Let's reposition the dial gauge indicator there. That's actually pretty well spot on. Okay, perfect. So let's say, for instance, you're rebuilding an engine and all these components came with it and you're doing your final checks as you put it all back together. So we've now got the thrust washer in there. We've set it to 0 and we're checking it. Crikey, this thing has 11 thou. It is way out of tolerance. See how much that's moving? So just past the 10 there, as you can see where the 11 mark is. So essentially now we've worked out we've got 11 thou. We need to make sure that we've brought that down between 3 and 6. What you need to be doing is contacting Minisport and having a look at their suppliers, the suppliers of what they've got available in stock. So these different size shims are available depending on what you need. So let's just have a look and see. This one could be a, say, 110 thou to 114 thou. So what you would want to do now is grab the shim that's in there, you want to measure it, and then we're looking at an extra 11 thou. We want between 3 and 6. So let's just say we need, for instance, let's just say 4 thou. So we want to get this one, and let's just say the one that's currently fitted is 110 thou to 114. So we want to add the 10 onto that. So maximum it's going to be is 124. We then want approximately, let's just say 4 thou. So we need one that's roughly 4 thou less than what we've got as the maximum. So if the maximum is 124, we then bring it back to 120. So we need to find a shim that goes to a maximum of 120 thou. Pretty straightforward mathematics. I know I've probably overcomplicated and explained it differently. That's how I generally work it out. So let's go on to the instance of rebuilding it and not having all of that. I'll quickly just touch base on that as well. Once you've worked out that shim thickness, put the new one in, check it. So long as you've got the correct measurement between 3 and 6 thou with everything fitted, perfect. Bob's your uncle. Now let's discuss the option in which you're rebuilding and you don't know how much clearance you've got and what size thickness shim you need to run. Let's start from the start. So we've just got an engine, for instance, off eBay or a friend, and they've given us everything except all the correct thrust washers we need. This one is, let's just say, for instance, non-existent. So how do we now work out what size thickness washer we need? So we don't have this one available to us. What we want to be doing is refitting the gear. We want to refit the washer, and we want to refit the C-clip as well. So now that's all completely on there. Make sure as well that the washer is between the C-clip openings. If it's not, it'll bind and then won't give you the correct measurement. We're then going to take that measurement and we're going to determine what thickness we need. So let's just hope this has enough clearance on there. We're going to do the same measurement once again. Now this is the way that I do it, and you can do it any other way. I'm sure there was someone in the comments who will probably tell me I'm completely wrong, and in doing so, that's cool. Just please be constructive or give a better way in which we can explain on how to do this if there is a simpler way. So we're going to set that to 0. So we've still got about 1.5 inches of preload, so we're perfect there. Now that is all the way down on the taper of the crankshaft, and the gear is all at the bottom. So we're going to lift that all the way up. We have approximately 73 thou of movement. So we think, oh, 73 thou, that's perfect. That's all we need. Let's just deduct 3 thou off there, so it's 70. We need a shim that's 70 thou thickness. That is not going to be correct because these shims don't come in a 70 thou thickness. So how do we then work that out? What we want to be doing next is determining the gap between the bottom of the gear and the crankshaft. So as you can see just down in here, I'll grab a screwdriver so you can see. Just down in here where the screwdriver currently is, there's a gap. That gap is completely normal because it has a taper on the end of the crankshaft. So you can just see a bit of an air gap between there. There you go, that's a really good shot. So there's an air gap between there. So we need to work out that clearance between there and how much movement we've actually got. What's going to be the easiest way? Feeler gauges. So once again, grab our trusty feeler gauges. So we know it needs to be, let's just say, for instance, the minimum specification that we can get from Minisport is going to be 110 thou. So we've got 73 thou. We need probably about 40 thou as a minimum to be able to work it up. So you're going to be putting in between there your feeler gauges. Now this is not going to work because I've currently got the gearbox on. If I didn't have the gearbox on, it's going to be a lot easier. So probably do this with the gearbox off. If not, simply undo the screw and stick in between there the feeler gauge. So remove them from the feeler gauges itself. Just keep them all together because they will just go absolutely kablamo and get out of order. Take them out one at a time and then measure the gap between the crankshaft and the gear. So let's say, for instance, we've got a 40 thou gap between the crankshaft and the gear. Between where it's currently sitting on the taper and its maximum movement is 73 thou. So in total, we have 114 thou of movement. We need approximately 3 thou minimum thrust clearance, so the amount of movement it's got that way. So we need to deduct 3 off 114, which is 111. So we need to find a shim that is 111 thou, or within that range, and that will give us the correct measurement. This episode does sound rather complicated, and you probably think to yourself, surely there's got to be an easy way to do this. You know what, there probably is. This is the way that I've worked it out. I just happen to have a couple of different shims left over from other builds that I've done in the past, where I've realized that keeping old parts isn't necessarily a bad thing. My wife hates it and there's stuff all in my shed everywhere. And it's good to have them because of this exact reason. I threw one in, I realized I was pretty close, but no cigar, so I went and bought another one. Once you've determined that gap, you then want to be fitting it. As I said, make sure you fit it the correct way. And then make sure as well that you've got the right amount of clearance. If you don't, you're gonna have an issue. One thing that I realized when I was rebuilding Grace's engine, when I was doing this, I realized that the washer that I originally had was incorrect. So I went and bought the correct one, put it in, and realized it was still way too tight. Not straight away did I realize what the issue was, but let's have a quick chat about it. When I'd sent the primary gear away to get rebushed, so the front and rear bushes, so this one just here and that one just there, can be replaced. They do need to be reamed to size, so once again, we'll talk about that in another episode where you work out the OD of the crankshaft and the ID of this, and then depending on what running clearance you need, you do need to ream it to size. Reaming just means that you're going to be opening up the inside of it, so you're pretty much drilling it out to the correct size, so it's a nice interference fit. I'd realised that once the bush had been fitted, the bush was actually in line with the back of the gear. Now, anyone at home who's done this before, there is a tapered edge just here. So I'm just kind of looking at myself in the camera just to make sure I can see. There's a tapered edge just where my finger is. Let's just grab something so I can point to it. Here we go, we use a feeler gauge, that's pretty good. So just there is a tapered edge. When the machine shop pushed the bush in, they did it flat in line with the back of this. Now, it's not a bad thing. However, because of the taper on the crankshaft, I found that when I put it on there originally, it was actually pushing it up higher. So the clearance I had was actually incorrect. What I needed to do was push that bush down there. That way, when I slid it on the crankshaft, it didn't interfere whatsoever with the step that's on there when you've got the thrust washer removed. So essentially, you're probably wondering, why do I need to know this? Well, you need to make sure that this is correct, because if it's not, it's going to give an incorrect reading, the bush is going to wear, it's going to cause issues down the track. It's just something you don't want to have. If it's your own engine and you don't care, whatever, do what you want. If you're rebuilding this with someone else, you want to make sure it's right. Either way, ideally, you want this to be correct, yours or someone else's. Inside here is a little lip. So where the bush sits directly inside there is a lip where it can be pushed into and won't go any further. Just beyond there are a couple of holes around the outside. So you can see these outside holes here, and these are for oil. This is what directs the oil from the oil pump, I guess, as it moves around the system, and it's going to lubricate the back of the primary gear seal, the seal that just sits directly here. You want to make sure that those are completely open and free. Easiest way to do that is just grab yourself a pipe cleaner, a bit of wire, and just run it all the way around and just slide in there to make sure that it's completely open and free. Any sort of resistance, try and get that out beforehand. That way you can ensure that oil can travel in there. Now you can't push that bush in too far because it does have a step, and you can just maybe see on the inside there are a couple of holes, and that's where the oil is going to be coming from. So it's going to be traveling up through the crankshaft, all through the different parts of the engine, and then it's going to be spraying out in a pattern on the back of the primary gear seal. So make sure that bush is pushed in, make sure you've got a tapered edge on the back. Once you've done that and you've checked your clearance, make sure it's right before you go and assemble it. You don't just want to be chucking this thing in. These do wear, unfortunately, and being probably one of the biggest components of the engine, which transfers drive from the crankshaft down through the gears into the gearbox, last thing you want to be doing is getting this thing wrong, because if you do, you're going to have problems down the track. Once upon a time, I didn't have this correctly set. Over time, with the movement of the clutch, it actually caused the gear to do this. It then bent the C-clip and the washer, pushed it out. The bolt for the flywheel actually came loose, wedged itself against the wok, and then just created this big world of havoc. I actually thought I'd seize the engine. Upon inspection, I'd found that I didn't have the clearance right, and then this is what led me to it. Every engine build I've done, I've learned something new, so I really hope that what I've taught you here has been something of lesson to, and you're able to take something away from it. If there is another way in which you can do this, please let me know. If there's an easier or simpler way, I'd love to hear it. Or even if there's a video, please let me know about it. That's the way that I figure out how to determine primary gear thrust clearance. On another episode, we'll talk about the clearance between the crankshaft and the primary gear itself. Thanks heaps for watching another episode of Tomo's Engine Building Tech Tips. We'll catch you on the next episode.